Last night, I watched an interview of a young lady that had suffered burns to 80% of her body after she tried to save her fiancé and friends from a burning car. She was nearby when a car accident happened, and she ran towards the burning car and tried to save them, but was unsuccessful in her attempt. It was only much later that she realized she was in much worse shape than she thought, possibly due to all that adrenaline. Fast forward about 3 years later, she was still recovering physically from the burns and mentally from the loss of her fiancé and friends. She had to keep herself covered to protect her skin from the sun, and even have trouble performing everyday mundane tasks, such as wearing her clothes. After watching the whole interview, the thought of how pathetic I was kept coming up in my head, and this video is kind of my attempt to put that thought into words. Going back to how I used to lead my life, it would often be made up of a mixture of tasks that I partake with the aim of improving myself, such as exercising and reading books, and also tasks that I indulge in to kick back and relax. It seems like a good balance, truth to be told. However, the mentality that I sometimes have when working on such tasks wasn't of the right one. I exercised for the sake of it, but wasn't fully present, intentional, and driven to work towards what I want to achieve out of it, such as achieving PRs that I've always wanted to hit. At times, I honestly hated the thought of going out for a run in the hot sun, knowing that I've already promised myself to do it that day. It was only after I watched that interview that I realized how pathetic I was. Imagine the simple act of just going for a run to be that something that someone else would do anything to do again. Wouldn't you feel pathetic to dread doing it? There are so many things that we often take for granted, ranging from everyday mundane tasks to much more complex activities. Even the things that you absolutely hate to do could be that something that someone else would do anything to trade places with, just so they can do it again. It's not just about going for a run or exercising, but could also be things like reading or being able to witness beautiful sceneries that you couldn't have if you have lost your eyesight. You could also be dreading to spend more time with your loved ones because you'd rather spend more time on your own gaming. But one day, you would do anything to go back to those mundane times to see them once more. I know we have heard it multiple times throughout our lives, to cherish the present and don't take things for granted. But just like what I've mentioned multiple times in my previous few videos, we often only truly learn a lesson until we experienced it ourselves. It's only after we have experienced the loss or pain that comes along with these experiences that we can truly ingrain these learning lessons into our hearts. However, I feel that this is one of the learning lessons that we absolutely cannot wait until something happens in order to ingrain it into our minds. It has to be one of those learning lessons that we constantly remind ourselves of, as the regret that comes from this is usually irreversible. You have to learn this by heart, to cherish those around you and not take things for granted. It's times like this that I realized how blessed I was. Yes, I'm not rich in terms of my finances or super good looking like those Korean oppas, but I would trade in anything, even the possibility of future success, if it helps to ensure that my loved ones are safe and doesn't experience such freak accidents that can take them away from me. There's one method that I utilize that helps me to stay focused or to remind myself of important learning lessons, which is called auto-suggestion. It's the very act of constantly repeating a word or phrase in order to have it embedded into your subconscious mind so that you can act accordingly subconsciously. Every single time I dread going for a run, I would constantly repeat to myself, I get to go for a run. This simple mindset shift is huge in changing how we look at difficult tasks. I genuinely enjoy every single moment of the run as I repeat to myself, I get to go for a run. I get to go for a run. Because the thought of being on the other side of the coin, which is losing the ability to go out for a simple jog under the sun, whether it be losing my limbs or suffering from a skin disease, was unthinkable. All my life, I've been an active person that loves to exercise. Imagining myself losing all of that would be equivalent to losing myself. And that applies to every facet of your life too. There could be that something that you know you have to do but didn't, or that's something that you enjoyed but didn't pursue. You have to understand that there is that possibility of losing it all. I'm not trying to be dark or cynical about these kind of things. Sometimes shit happens and we could lose it all, and when that happens, you would do anything to do what you thought was a waste of time again.